Alright, volume 2 of my impressions of the Jim Crawford book, Confessions of an Antinatalist. So I went from about page 18 to page, let's see, where are we? Where did we leave off? Page 48. Yeah, it's 30 pages. And it basically comprises his personal story of how he got religion, how he found religion. Doesn't really explain how he unfound it, but it definitely has the finding part in there. When he became, he had his religious period. But they're interesting stories, typical kind of stories of 70s or 80s drug culture, this different kind of things. So it was kind of interesting to me anyway. I sort of lived some of that stuff anyway. A little story about a dog, they fed a burrito to at work, and it has some of that personal stuff in it, like work, like, he's had different jobs, not good jobs, necessarily, just common man kind of guy, and just kind of how he got through those life experiences. It starts off with a story about his first conscious memories, and it's sort of an explanation of how he sees how you live in your life as an internal. He describes it as a wound-up ball of string, and as you live, the ball starts to unravel into the world, and the strings, these tentacles of your consciousness, start to, weave into the world around you, and you become less internal, and more external, and at least more capable of that, of sensing the world around you, or maybe sensing through the people around you. So I thought it was a good metaphor. A little bit about Schopenhauer, and even a little bit about Adolf Hitler. Just little descriptions about the irony that you could be absolutely evil, useless piece of crap, but you are still a human being. You could still be an artist or a dog lover or some other thing, and those paradoxes are always kind of interesting to contemplate. This thin line between lunatic and genius. So he's sort of, it's very subtle in this part of the book anyway, in terms of making the argument for antinatalism. It's just kind of leading up to it in a sense by just describing kind of just the plain ineptness of much of our life, and how it does turn on nothing, and how much of it maybe, it doesn't really say that, but how much of it's out of our control. It's like, the smallest story, the little one about the dog. It's always so sympathetic, because you could just imagine, you just even imagining a dog, panicking or being tense or uncomfortable, or it's just a sympathetic circumstance. You just can't help but feel. I mean, dogs emote so expressively that it's really easy to empathize, to even put yourself in their little bodies and little brains and kind of feel their tension or their panic. So I thought that was effective in just creating one little isolated story. I mean, one little homeless dog story, and I sort of stall even on that. Even that's almost enough for me to say, no, don't do it. No, we can't have life on Earth, because the little dog is going to have a sad, pitiful, horrible life. That's enough to turn me off on the risk. I guess that's how little appreciation I have for the rest. But anyway, interesting. It's personal stories, what you think about when you fall asleep at night, different little bits. So we'll see where it goes. Like I said, it's kind of a subtle approach to getting to the end game of, what's this all about? Yeah, it really, is it worth all this noise and all this production and all this waste and slop. And I think the obvious conclusion is no, of course not. So yeah, so he's not making the hard argument. He's kind of making the subtle, soft argument in this part of the book. And so anyway, I want to link to, he did post his prologue thing, or whatever, the little metaphorical description that I thought was well done. And he reads that in a video, so I'll post a link to that and post this as a response to that. This is good stuff. And yeah, it's so far so good. I'm liking it. And so anyway, till next time and such. Yeah, no great quotes. I mean, the consciousness metaphor thing was pretty good, but there's, yeah, it's just no, you know, like I said, it's still kind of easing his way into the subject and such.